Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Erschen, and this week we are counting down the top 10 horror films from 1982. Shout out goes to Full Moon 1973 and Hellhound from the Horror Metal channel, my cohort on the Morbid Hour live stream. Definitely check out their videos on this as well. Gonna give a couple honorable mentions before I get started. First one would be Hospital Massacre, otherwise known as X-Ray. Probably my second favorite hospital-based slasher film. Obviously the first one would be Halloween 2. This is a really fun slasher with Barbie Benton. Next honorable mention would be The Last Horror Film, starring none other than Carolyn Monroe and Joe Spinell from Maniac. And this is a pretty similar film to Maniac in a lot of ways. It's almost like a sequel. Unofficially, of course. Next honorable mention would be Amityville 2, The Possession. And like Hellhound said, I find the DeFeo murders a lot more interesting than what went on with the Lutz family when it comes to the Amityville horror legend. But that's just me, you know. I found it to be a better, scarier film, you know. Okay, let's get to number 10, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Which seems to be a pretty polarizing film in the Halloween franchise. It seems people either love it or hate it. I'd say lately a lot of people have come around to really enjoying it. You know, it's become something of a cult classic. Like Hellhound as well, I'm also kind of in the middle on this one. I do enjoy it. And I think it's a good film, and it's something different. It's a nice little alternative to the Michael Myers saga. But I don't really give it any more credit than that. I just think it's a good movie, and it's a nice alternative take. Yeah, but I enjoy it. I think Colonel Cochran is a great villain as well. Played very well by Dan O'Herlihy. And it's nice to see Dick Warlock as one of the androids who played Michael Myers in Part 2. A great soundtrack, too, from John Carpenter. Next up, we have another Part 3, Friday the 13th Part 3. Or Friday the 13th 3 in 3D. Because, as you know, it was released in 3D. And I got the 3D glasses right there to prove it. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite in the franchise, but I still enjoy it, you know, for what it is. It's a solid slasher film. And this, of course, is where Jason got his infamous hockey mask for the first time. I'd say that's what this one is known for most. It's got some pretty nasty kills, too. Next up is Poltergeist, directed by Tobe Hooper, produced by Steven Spielberg, of course. Yeah, definitely a classic. Definitely enjoy this one. It's definitely one of the better kind of haunted house type movies, you know, definitely dealing with the paranormal activity stuff, you know. Yeah, I really enjoy this one. Next up, we have a slasher that I've only seen just recently, believe it or not, and that is House on Sorority Row. But I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a lot better than I was expecting, you know. I was engaged in the story. I found it had some good suspense to it, and the ending, boy, is a real chiller, I'm telling you. Next up, we have, of course, Pieces. This movie is just infamous. It is absolutely brutal with the gore effects. The kill scenes are just insane with the gore. And it's sleazy, it's cheesy as hell. It's just so much freaking fun. It's so 80s. I can't help but laugh at that one scene where the lady's like roller skating down the sidewalk and she just runs right into a plate glass window. And it's so random, like there's no mention of it anywhere else in the film, or if she died or what. It's just so random. Also, you have the scene where the killer hacks up a young couple in the middle of a park while they're having a picnic. You know, it's so nasty, right in broad daylight. Next up, we have the equally sleazy, probably even more so, the New York Ripper, of course, directed by the legendary Lucio Fulci, the Gore Master. Man, this movie is just savage. It just pulls no punches. It just doesn't give a crap, you know? It's ridiculously sleazy. It's ridiculously gory. And it's cheesy. It's weird. And it's actually got a few scary scenes, too. It's got some weird dream sequence in there, you know. It's crazy, man. Here we have another slasher film. Yeah, so 82, another good year for slashers. You have Alone in the Dark, really good slasher movie with Jack Palance, Donald Pleasance. I mean, what a great cast. You had Martin Landau in there. You know, about this group of escaped lunatics from the mental asylum, you know. Next up, we have Tenebrae, the Dario Argento classic, another Italian horror flick on here. Definitely, probably his closest to a slasher film as Dario Argento has ever made. There's definitely some influence from the 80s slasher films on this movie, I think, but it's still got all the classic giallo elements that we know Dario Argento for. It's definitely a giallo film, and slasher. I'd say half slasher, half giallo. There's some brutal kills in here. There's some definite what the F moments, you know. It's got a lot of cheese, but it's got an incredible soundtrack, once again, from Goblin. Awesome, awesome movie. I'd say out of all Dario Argento's movies, I find myself watching Tenebrae the most for some reason. It's just like the most entertaining. Next up, we have what I feel is the best horror anthology film ever made, and that is Creepshow, directed by the late, great George Romero in collaboration with Stephen King, of course. And Stephen King even stars in one of the stories in this film. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I love every single story on here. The Father's Day one, the one with Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson. Great cast. It's just so much fun. I love the comic book feel of it. Awesome, awesome movie. I can't say enough about it. It's just phenomenal. And in at number one, probably no surprise to anybody, that is The Thing. Directed by John Carpenter, of course. An absolute classic. And one of the best remakes of all time, period. Not even just the horror genre, but unbelievable remake. Incredible special effects, that just goes without saying. Incredible suspense. I mean, that blood test scene with Kurt Russell testing to see who the Thing is just unbelievable. It's just spine-tingling. The suspense is unreal. Incredible creature design, creature effects. And it's such a scary film as well, you know. I can't say enough about it. Amazing, amazing film. It's probably my second favorite John Carpenter film, and that's saying a lot because he had a lot of great films. Just a string of classics in the late 70s and early 80s. Alright guys, that's it for the top 10 horror films of 1982. Feel free to list your top 10 in the comments below, or if you want to do a response video. Let's have some fun, and thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Erschen, in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared. Folks, don't forget to grab your Sean Patrick Erschen gear and represent the Horror Corner. Also, check out these awesome mugs we have, perfect for your coffee. And definitely check out the Horror Hangout live stream t-shirt and represent the legacy of the Horror Hangout. Check out the link in the description below this video.